Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope everyone out there is doing absolutely fantastic. And that you're all having a great day. If I sound slower than usual, I just woke up. Terrible night's sleep. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just like I don't really know. Maybe other people are also going through the same thing. I've been sleeping terribly for the last like 2 weeks. I mean, there is a lot going on, and I don't know. Don't forget to leave a like on the video. It's a free and easy way to support the channel. Very big thank you to everyone who leaves a comment on the videos as well. It does help out with the algorithm. Without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Always, never not a lot going on. I think even globally now, financially, there's just so much discussion about where things are going. You must have seen it at some point in the news being discussed. The ideas of debt levels, national debt levels. There's been so much news recently about a lot of Asia and their debt levels. There was something more prominently in the news around 2 to 3 weeks ago about France and their deficits and their debt levels. Germany recently, this was like summertime. If you missed it, Germany announced that they're going to be printing a trillion euros for A, B, and C. Same exact thing is happening in the US. We're getting a lot of de-dollarization news still. That's always popping up and has been for the entirety of this year. We've also shockingly or unshockingly seen gold prices rising rather quickly, Bitcoin rising with expectations of prices going higher as the national debt continues to be out of control. More companies, the news we've been getting for the course of this year has largely been, we're a company who's getting into Bitcoin. We're getting into crypto. Why? Because we don't like fiat. We don't like the debasement. We don't like the debt levels. We don't like that's been one of the major cycling themes and ideas over the course of this year as well. So it makes total sense why this would have become, that's a weird photo. It's a gigantic Bitcoin, the size of buildings, taller than buildings, having a dollar sign shake its finger. I think I get it, but it's also, that's maybe I need more sleep and it's just seeming creepier than it actually is. It says, and I say this lightly because the fact that this narrative has also shifted, or we're supposed to believe that it has, I don't know. It says investors are turning to safe haven assets such as Bitcoin and gold. Yeah, I don't I don't know what part of the internet you're all on, but sometime this year we started hearing a lot from analysts and CEOs and other companies and what have you, and Bitcoin maximalists, like referring to Bitcoin as a safe haven asset. And it's not that Bitcoin isn't, it's just more of a Bitcoin is still incredibly volatile compared to other assets. So we've heard a lot as well. I mean, you've been here, where we've been hearing that because Bitcoin has less volatility than before in the past, it's gearing itself up to become the world reserve stable gold digital money currency thing. And it's not that Bitcoin isn't a safe haven. It's just more of a you typically have to have some kind of a leveled price, what have you, such as Bitcoin and gold, as the U.S. national debt is nearing a record-breaking 38 trillion US dollars. America's national debt is currently $37.9 trillion. Wow. is rising by $69,000 per second, or nearly $4.2 million per minute. This is according to U.S. Congress Joint Economic Committee's debt dashboard. You must have seen it. There's like this, I think it's in New York. There's like a big thing, like a big number board, and it basically shows like the national debt. And it shows like each person in the United States, it shows like what their share is. So like how much each person would have to pay to be able to wipe out the actual national debt. And it gets insane. That equates to a staggering $6 billion per day. The national debt goes up by $6 billion every 24 hours. It makes you wonder, like, maybe just stop taking out debt. There's a video I saw on Instagram, and this guy was like, hey, guys, do you know that the world is like $70 trillion in debt? And he was like, to who? Who is it? Like, is there some other like alien confederacy that we just don't know about who we're in debt to? He's like, wouldn't it just make sense to stop printing so much money and stop being in debt to everyone? If everyone came together and was like, hey, we're all in the mud here. Let's make that number 0 and let's cool it with the debt. Like, let's maybe do like a couple million per year. Nope. $6 billion per day. Larger than the GDP of over 30 countries. It's terrible. That's absolutely horrendously horrible. This is according to data from a company called Worldometer. Oh, okay, sure. This is and then they have a little chart with a bunch of numbers. $6 billion every single day. Wow. U.S. Representative Keith Self said on Friday that the debt tally is set to surpass $38 trillion in weeks and possibly even $50 trillion within a decade. Current economic prospects and numbers are probably putting $50 trillion within the next 2 to 3 years. That was news that we got earlier this year, as the amount of spending that the U.S. is doing is unprecedented, and this will only be heavily exacerbated as we see interest rates potentially falling further. The news that we have garnered over the last few months is that basically once what's his face, the current head of the Fed is disappeared, we are going to potentially see the interest rates drop from 6 or 7% back down to 1 in one fell swoop. So that is going to be U.S. Representative Keith Self has urged immediate action to be taken. And I'll say this in a nice way. Everyone does. I think a lot of times these people, they know that nothing is going to be done because nothing has ever been done. I don't know how many of you have followed U.S. money news over the last 20 or so odd years. Ever since I became old enough to like look at news and understand stuff, every single politician has always said, we need to get this under control. Something's not right. And then they kind of just disappear into the background. They want the sound bite of them. Everyone knows this is deplorable. Like, we shouldn't have this much debt. No one, no country, no planet should have this much debt at all. We all know. But there's nothing that will actually be done. So a lot of times these people just do want sound bites to say, no. 4 years ago, I was talking about it. I remember, once again, years ago, and I remember the idea of like even like a government shutdown was like, you can't shut down the government. And then like, there's just no real, how do I say this in a very nice way? The system runs on debt and needs debt to continue. If you don't have debt, because if you talk about the US dollar has lost 99% of its value to Bitcoin in a decade. Think about, like, freaking stop for 1 second and think about it. The world reserve currency lost 99% of its value to a currency that's been out for 15 and a half years. And I think it took a decade. If that's how the US dollar is faring against Bitcoin, buddy boy, that means it's a terrible currency. The only way that you continue to keep things going is by actually the way that the system works, for those of you who don't know or need a little reminder, is by creating debt. You need debt to be able to say that you purchase new things, you invested in this, you put money into that, and it shows your GDP going higher. This is literally how it works. You create tons of debt and you say, look, we made so many more buildings. We did so many more things. Look at our infrastructure. We made new trains. We made new this. We launched new satellites. Our country is stronger than ever. But growth doesn't go forever. Nothing can expand infinitely in all directions. And it's the same exact thing with fiat currencies. So if we know this common knowledge, the people behind the scenes also know the same exact thing. So there's always this thing every couple of years where people come forward. You remember when I started this channel. This isn't the first time we've had this news. This goes on the number was much lower before, but it will continue into the future. So I do think this is is more like a song and dance, because nothing will, like, what will come of this? What urgent action needs to be taken? Do you want the US and other countries to stop printing money? That sounds wonderful, but that's not how the system works. The system is built on inflation. The idea of inflation is that your country will continue to produce new babies. These babies will then get older and also need to start working. We are meant to be workers. We are meant to be consumers. We are not meant to be the actual creators of money. That's how we're meant to be on the treadmill, on the hamster wheel for forever. So the more new people you have in your country, the more new people who are working, the more so-and-so goes up, the more blah, blah, blah. It shows that your country has expanded in some sort of direction. And then you can then say, look at how much stronger that we actually are. If they want growth to stop, then you stop printing money. But they've printed so much money that the growth has to continue in one direction. There was something a couple of days ago, there was this video online, and I was like, what are you talking about, lady? It was this video. It was from one of the major news publications or whatever. It was on YouTube. And the discussion is that less and less people are going out. Less people are, going, for takeaway and to eat dinner outside with their friends, and less people are going out to party. And she was like, it's a really weird conundrum. And I was like, is it, Mary? Like, is it that confusing? If people are losing their jobs, if people can't afford their rent, you talk about studio apartments being 16, 17, 2100 for a studio. You talk about 1 and 2 bedrooms being 2,800, 3,300. Whose income has increased by that much year on year? I understand, landlords wanting more. And that's also another even crazy part as well, because I'm also a landlord, for those of you who don't know. The problem is that land fees go up. HOA fees go up. Taxes and all these other things also go up yearly for like the actual needing to, maintain whatever the actual property. And then you have to pass that on to the actual renter. Otherwise, you're only making $180 per month. It doesn't make any real sense otherwise. And then the problem is that these numbers go up so high because the entire system is completely broken, that then that number gets passed on to the owner, which then gets passed on to the renter. And then the problem is that the renter then can't go to their employer and go, hey, so costs have gone up by 80% since 2019. Where's my 80% raise? And then they go, I got you. And then they hand you a pink slip, and then you're not working there anymore. So it makes total sense that people aren't going out, people aren't partying, people aren't vacationing that much, people aren't eating out all the time. What are you talking about? So this idea of urgent action, the urgent action would be to literally convene all the countries and say, hey, all debt is now zero. We're actually going to mandatorily lower our inflation rate to a maximum of 1%. So we will continue to have growth. but it won't be, like this weird growth that we keep trying to portray by printing billions and trillions of dollars to show other countries, yeah, we're doing better. Because for every dollar that you print, every dollar that came before it gets devalued. If you're printing 6 billion every 24 hours, you are high. How do you lose 99% of your value to Bitcoin in a decade? Yeah, this is the way that things are and they've always been. This is what I wish more people got into crypto for, was this information that the system is rigged, the system is broken, the system is a complete sloppy mess laying in the corner. When I got into crypto, it was because a lot of the, if not all of the first people in this space, the originals, as it were, always talked. They were like, no, fiat currencies are going to be debased even further. There's going to be heavy inflation. There's going to be hyperinflation. And then you look at the numbers that they give you on the news and they say, oh, inflation only rose by 2.3%. No, like, stop lying to everyone. It's so much higher than that. The numbers are so much more intense than anyone can actually admit. Because if you went on stage and you announced that inflation wasn't 2.3% and was actually 18% since last year as consumer prices continue to rise for rent, for cars, for payments, for food, it would send everyone else into this downward spiral, because they would know if the world reserve currency is doing bad, that means everything's doing bad, because you can't admit it out loud. You can't say that. That's why I said before, I was like, remember all these companies at the beginning of the year who were like, oh yeah, we're going to leave the yen, we're leaving the so-and-so, we're leaving the dollar, we're leaving the euro, we're just going to be buying Bitcoin. That is something that takes... You can't have that much conviction without knowledge. You can't go from a company being like, we're going to buy $1 million worth of BTC, to talking about you're upping it to like $14 billion this year. If we know something's wrong, the people who run these companies, who run these countries, they know it's like bad. It's like bad, 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 bad. He said, Congress must act now. Demand fiscal responsibility from your leaders before the gradual slide becomes a sudden collapse. I'm going to give him a little pat on the back. Okay, you're awesome. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this actually, like, you can say these things out loud all you want and pretend. If we all come together and hold hands and say fiscal responsibility now, they'll go, the public has spoken. And then they'll change the system back to 1970s when we were on a gold standard. Don't you think they would have done that a while ago? Don't you? What do you... This kind of idea of just being like, well, if you wish and cross your fingers, then they'll definitely listen. These people don't care. This is how they got rich. It's through the system being broken. They remain rich because everyone else has to continue to work, has to continue to pay them, has to continue to do this. Do you understand how the system works and why we have Bitcoin, why we have crypto? Why it's so important for billions of other people to be like, hey, something's wrong here. This one looks a lot better. We know exactly how much Bitcoin is going to, and I air quote here, inflate every single year. It's mathematical. We don't have to guess it. We know exactly how much Bitcoin there is. They can't create any more. And then you have tons of people in crypto. Yeah, I'm here for the quick, fast money. And it's like, yeah, you're not understanding what's going on. You probably don't want to. There's something inside of your mind. If you were made to understand exactly what's happening, a lot of people would crumble. This is the same exact way like when people are in like crazy debt from shopping and stuff like that, or like when you actually open your eyes to see how the world really is, it hurts. Nobody wants to really deal with it. So we kind of just go, okay, cool, I'll just focus on this. Everything is completely broken. And then we have this new asset, we have this new thing that all these rich people are going towards, buying as much as possible. And I sit here and I'm like, I hope you all understand what's going on. I hope you're all paying attention. I hope you realize how early you are in the market. But why are they all rushing towards Bitcoin? If the system is collapsing and these people are openly announcing, the people from Fidelity, from BlackRock, what's the other company that we just recently had? One of the other big ones. All saying the exact same thing. Yeah, it looks like Bitcoin might take over the US dollar. If debts and deficit continue in this way, Bitcoin might become the world reserve. And then they buy up all the Bitcoin, and people in crypto go, I'm gonna buy fart coin. I really like that Mimi coin, the one with the frog. That one's gonna make it. These people are telling you out loud, we are buying up billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. There's a little bit of Bitcoin left on exchanges. We're gonna buy up all of it, and people go, I like the other one. What's the cat coin? That's the one that I want from my portfolio. What? Like what are people talking about? What weird world is this? There was something a couple of weeks ago, this article I was reading about how meme coins and some altcoins haven't been pumping in price as people expected. And I was like, are you serious? These companies have announced they're throwing all their money into Bitcoin. If we see the money flowing into 5 different coins, it makes sense why 10,000 other coins aren't pumping in price. These people have chosen their victor. They've chosen where they want to put their money. You expect these random, ridiculous coins to also still be doing a 300% rise in one day? Like what? How can you be so distracted when the answer is right in front of your face? We keep hearing the same damn thing every single day. Every 24 hours, we keep hearing the same thing. And people in crypto go, Bitcoin's boring. I don't like it. I'm going to choose Chimangala coin. Last week, JPMorgan touted Bitcoin and gold as the debasement trade amid increased uncertainty in the dollar. Bitcoin's fixed supply and decentralized nature have drawn increased institutional attention. With the likes of BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, it says once a Bitcoin critic, this guy's been buying Bitcoin forever, stating in January that Bitcoin could go to 700,000 US dollars on currency debasement fears. The company that owns everything, the CEO has said, he said multiple times, he's expecting like $1 billion Bitcoin in the next couple of years, like before we start the next decade. Oh my gosh, guys. Like, it's just, I wish the world would like wake up and start paying attention, because it gets a little bit annoying after a while. Remember I told you before, you're going to have friends who are going to brag to you that they have 30,000 Satoshi. You're going to have other people being like, oh man, why didn't you tell me before? Bitcoin's price is going to go to 1.4 million, and these people are going to riot. They're going to be completely over it and annoyed. I didn't have any time to buy Bitcoin. Yes, you did. You were buying sneakers. You were putting expensive vacations on credit cards. You were buying all these things that you didn't need over and over and over and over and over and over. Well, my friends, I'm exhausted. I think that's going to do it for this video. For the love of heaven, just pay attention. Just do what you need to do. Stop all the nonsense. You know, it's gotten to the point where, you know, this is why I told you before, I stopped telling people. I used to always, after I met people or I knew them for a couple of weeks, I always tried to have a conversation with them, because I've met so many people in my personal life who, yeah, I'm broke, I don't got it, I'm so-and-so, I can't. And so I'm like, let me try and help them. Let me explain to them what this is. I can help you get into a market somewhere to invest your money. If people don't want to know, but these are always the people who complain after. That's the problem. If these people just didn't get into a market and were like happy, you know, being broke, skipping around, that'd be something else. But the moment like they realize that they could have gotten into something and they didn't, and it's their fault, that becomes I'm going to blame someone else. And it's like, no, everyone under the age of 50, and I'll give you a good 40, knows what Bitcoin is. People under the age of 80 know what stocks are. They know what bonds are, and bonds. Something to invest your money, to put money away, to have something for the future. If you keep ignoring every single thing, If you keep having people walk up to you in those street interviews on YouTube, how much money do you have saved? Saved? I'm 33. I don't think about saving money. I want to go hang out with my friends and go on vacations. They turn 47 and then they're in a documentary about how they don't have any money. I tell you, I keep finding these documentaries. They're crazy. These documentaries, and for some reason, they're always like targeting old people. I think it's meant like 70s and 80s. They're meant to like target or try and like, look how sad things are that these old people can't afford this and can't afford that. It's incredibly sad because they also didn't pay attention. Because every single documentary that I'm watching, they're not talking to young people. They're not talking to other people. They kind of show this like vantage point of like, she's 81 years old and still has to work. And then they talk to them and the woman goes, well, in the 70s and 80s, we didn't think about saving. In the early 90s, we saw the dot-com bubble, so we avoided the stock market. In the early, 2001, also another collapse, we also avoided it. And then we saw 2008, so we just decided whatever. Like we heard somewhere on the news that our money would be safe because the government would give us a pension, and now my pension's only $800 per month. Why is it only $800 per month? Well, at some point I was taking money out of my pension so we could go on vacations, and I saw really like beautiful things that I wanted to buy. And it's like, what the you had how many years to put, you could have put $1 a day away and you still would have something, a freaking dollar. Nonetheless, $10, $15, $20 a week. How much money would you have now? Imagine if you had invested that anywhere. Gold prices back in the 70s, it was like dirt. Very, very super on sale. So I understand once again, people, and I focus more on people who are able-bodied or of sound mind. You know what money is. You know what you bought you bought what nonsense? You paid. No part of you thought. You just bought a new car. You just bought a new motorbike. You just bought a new so-and-so. You just bought a new dress. You just bought new shoes. You're going on vacation. Hey, this vacation costs, $2,000. I'm gonna put $200 away into a savings account, just 10% of it. You got paid every single month. I just saw this oh my gosh. I just saw this documentary. It was so crazy. They were talking to these people, and like the point of the show was to try and figure out like how much money they had or something like it was like you see the people living their lives, and then at the end of it, you kind of how much are they worth? How much are they making per month? This one woman, I kid you not. She was buying this. She was in her 40s. She did so-and-so. She got this done to her face. She got blah, 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 blah. At the end of it, they were asking her how much she was making. She had a part-time job. I think she was bringing in like $800 per month. And I was like, what? I think her husband was bringing in maybe $2,000 or something like that. And it was, and he was even saying, yeah, I just got to do this and I'm going to put in a pool. And I was like, you're not even living for now. Like you're living just to like brag to other people to show that like, look at what we have right. And I was like, they're both a good 20 something years away from retirement. They didn't have jack diddly squat to their name. Nothing. No assets. Like, crazy. The fact that people live that way is bananas. You probably can also find some documentaries online about like young people being in debt. There's this like really weird thing where because young people think that they're never going to be able to own a home or have assets, they're doom spending. But the doom spending is only being accelerated by buy now, pay later websites. I'm not joking. I just saw one. This guy was 22 years old. I think he was $47,000 in debt. He said he bought new shoes, he bought new clothing because he wanted like all the new stuff that came out so he could impress girls. And he bought a new computer and bought a new this, and he was driving a nice car. And they were like, "You're 22." He's like, "Yeah, it's difficult to get the numbers to go down because like every time that like a new iPhone comes out, like I get the newest one." And he's buying it all on credit. And I was like, dude, by he's 20, 22. He's had 4 years worth of access to these things. By the time he's 34 and a half, I assume he's going to be half a million at least in debt. How insane. Oh boy. Okay. Yeah. That's going to do it for this video. As I always say, I hope you're all saving money. Hope you have a savings account. Hope you're all remembering to invest. Do something. Do something with your life. Don't just sit there and then turn 60 and 70 and then blame other people. That's not how this works. You gotta help and save yourself. Congress is not going to act now. There's not going to be this brand new, hey, we're going to change the no. The system is the way that it is, and you need to navigate your way around it. That's how life is. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.